Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the first information session of the Office of Undergraduate Research. We have organized this session because in about a week, you have a deadline to submit your application for the Office of Undergraduate Research internal grants. This is for the fall cycle. And so we hope that we can give you some information about applying to this grant. But in addition to that, if you have any other questions regarding grant writing or writing grant proposals, please feel free to ask your questions. Professor Elizabeth Bach from the Writing and Communication Center, as well as Professor Robert Fisher from the Physics Department and Representative of Science and Engineering are here. I'm also an expert personally in arts and humanities. So if you're coming from those disciplines and you have a question about those, you can also address them to me. So on this note, I am going to share my screen to show you just a brief to give you just a brief information about what we have ahead of us on September 26th. Can you see my page here? Okay, excellent. So please note that when you go to the Office of Undergraduate Research, this is the main page. And if you're looking for information for internal funding opportunities, you click on this. If you want to browse through opportunities for national scholarship and external funding opportunities, you click on this. If you want to register for our workshops and information sessions like today's session, you click on this. And if you want to know what other students at UMass Dartmouth have done with their research, you can click on this. Field Notes actually gives you a lot of examples of research that has been conducted by students like you here at UMass Dartmouth, and they come from a variety of disciplines, from arts and humanities to science and engineering. So you can find ideal examples and kind of be inspired by some of the more successful projects that are listed here. So when you click on internal funding, you scroll down and you pay attention to fall and spring research grants. There are two PDF files here. This is your application cover sheet, and this is a file that gives you information about what your application should look like. And so I want you to click on both of them and be aware of the fact that it is necessary to open both of them. And obviously, your cover sheet must be filled and attached to your main application. And as far as your application guideline goes, it tells you exactly how many words your application can be, maximum and minimum. And it also tells you how many sections are required on this application. For example, a little bit of information about your background, a little bit of information about what other funding opportunities are available in your department, who you're working with, and what's the goal of your research, and so on and so forth. There's also a section about funding. I have to tell you that this funding, the one particularly designed for fall and spring semesters, is not a stipend-based funding. In other words, we cannot fund you for your time. You can take advantage of that opportunity during the summer months, but for fall and spring, we often fund the kind of materials that you need in order to conduct your research. And by materials, I mean lab materials, art materials, and any other objects and items that you need in order to conduct your research. You can also travel to certain places. For example, if you need to go to faraway places to explore something as a biologist in another part of the country, or if you need to go to an archive to research the materials that are housed at the archive, you can also put those in the budget. Pay attention that the other categories are not relevant for September 26th deadline. So we have research-related travel awards that can be applied to at any time. So if you want to go to a conference, apply to this one. This is only for attending conferences. And of course, for the summer, we have a different category and different set of forms that need to be filled. So at this point, I think you got a good sense of what this grant proposal is about and where it's located, the information about it, where it's located, and what you need in order to accomplish writing your grant proposal for the OUR Intel Awards. On this note, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn the platform to Professor Elizabeth Bach or Robert Fisher, whoever feels more comfortable to start now, to tell us a little bit more about the secrets of successful grant proposals.
Dr. Bach, would you like to start first?
Please.
Sure, I'm happy to go first. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. So I am the director of the Writing Multiliteracy Center, which is, if you've ever been to the Liberal Arts Building, we're right by the bridge to the campus center, but I will share the website for the center at the end of my little spiel here. But in my role as the director of the Writing and Multiliteracy Center, I have helped folks with grants and with grant preparation. And that's absolutely something that we can assist with at the center if you want to take a draft of your grant. I will recommend a couple of tutors who I think will be particularly helpful in reviewing grants because they have grant writing experience themselves. I also am happy to assist as a resource too, if you'd like to reach out to me directly. But right now, I would just like to share a couple general tips about grant writing, and my perspective very much comes from the humanities, though I have worked myself with individuals on grants outside of the humanities and on things like the Truman Fellowship. That is something I worked a lot on an application for that with someone, so I know that one pretty well. But let me go ahead and switch over to screen sharing here. And I will also share this in the chat if you'd like to follow along. So let me share that link. And all right. All right, can everybody see that okay? Okay, great. So these are just some quick strategies for grant writing, things that have been helpful to me, things that I have seen as helpful advice in tutoring practices. But the most important thing with grant writing is going to be conveying why you need the money, and very specifically why your project needs the money and how it is different. How are you going to differentiate your project from the other applications that they've received? Because for some grants, they may be reviewing literally thousands of applications. So making sure that your project is unique and specific and that you articulate very clearly what you need the money for is going to really, really be the most important thing. And make sure you follow the directions. That's also very important because sometimes, and when I've been on the other end of reviewing grants, sometimes we just, it can be a great idea, but we have to toss it out because they forgot to include a component that they need. Like, let's say you were supposed to submit a resume with it and you forgot to submit a resume. So make sure that when you are applying for your grant that you write yourself a little checklist on what materials they're asking for and that you actually check those off before you submit it, because it's heartbreaking when you have a great application otherwise that you're reviewing and you have to throw it out because they forgot to submit something. So make sure you follow those directions and that you submit all the components that they're asking for. But the key terms with grant writing are going to be concision, so making sure that you are concise, because again, someone could be reading 1,000 of these and their eyes might be glazing over after a couple of them. So you want to make sure you get to the point with it. You don't want to be overly verbose. And you want to make sure that you're clear, because again, if they don't know what you're going to use this money for, they probably won't be very inclined to give it to you. And then again, you want to be creative and original. You want to make sure your idea stands out. You want to make sure you're not just repeating work that someone else has already done. So that is going to be particularly important as well. So one of the things that I really like to recommend here is for audience. because you don't always know who's going to be a part of the committee reviewing your work. And it's equally important that someone who's in your field understands what you are proposing. It's as important for someone outside of your field to understand it as well, because they could be the ones evaluating the grant. So for me, I am in English and communication, and I read a lot of more STEM field grants. And if I don't understand what's going on, I'm going to be like, yeah, I don't, they're not quite connecting the dots here for me. So it's actually really, really important to have someone outside of your field recommend it. So I'm actually going to recommend that you have 4 different audiences read your grant proposal. Audience number 1 would be a professor or expert in your own field of study, because they are going to know a lot, of course, about that subject area. Audience number 2 is going to be a professor or skilled reader outside of your field of study. So I would be happy, again, to read those STEM grants and tell you how it's coming across to me as someone with no expertise in that area. And then audience number 3 would be a peer, like a student in your major, someone who's in your program, because they also could give great insight into that subject area. And then the audience number 4 is a reader who knows absolutely nothing at all about your content. So grab your neighbor, grab someone in your family, someone who, yeah, maybe knows nothing about that subject area, because it's so important that your ideas come across clearly to someone who may not know anything about it, because they could be a reader for the grant application. But they could also be experts in your field too. You don't know. So those are the 4 audiences that I very much recommend that you solicit when you are in the process of having your grant application reviewed. The other thing that's really important that I recommend a lot, and I think the website is a great resource for this, is to locate examples of successful grant applications and use them as a template. So you obviously don't want to be copying word for word from someone else's grant proposal. Don't do that. But see what kind of rhetorical moves that they made, and see how they structured their application. See how they even use things like headings to delineate the content. That all of those things can be really helpful. And it's really great to see how people have responded to the specific expectations and requirements for the grant. So if you can find an example of someone who's received that grant, a lot of those are publicly available. That is going to be an excellent resource for you to use that as a model for your own work. So for additional resources, I have a couple links there. They should work, but the one that of course I want to talk about is the Writing and Multiliteracy Center. So this, if you just Google UMass DWMC, this is our website. It should come right up. If you can also log in though, if you are on the main UMass D login page and go to academics, the Writing and Multiliteracy Center is under academics as well. So some people prefer to log in using that page. But if you click on the schedule an appointment button, that should take you to our scheduler. So our scheduler looks like this. It won't quite look like this from your end, but this is my admin login. But there are, so that's what I would recommend using the center for, is maybe trying to meet with a tutor who is in your field, get that peer audience, someone who may be in your major, and then work with someone who is another peer who is outside of your area of expertise. And getting those 2 perspectives can be really valuable in addition to those expert audiences as well. So I would recommend, if you are looking to have your grant reviewed, is to work with Haley, because Haley has some grant writing experience, or to work with Riley, who is a graduate level consultant. She is also an excellent resource. So Haley and Riley would be who I recommend making appointments with if you want someone with specific grant writing expertise. But any of our tutors at the center should be able to give feedback either as someone in your same major or as an outside reader. And if you want to meet with someone specific, like let's say your grant is in biology, if you use that limit to feature at the top of the page, this would give you the names of tutors who are biology majors, have expertise in biology. But that is who I would suggest working with, yes, for your peer audience. So I, of course, am always happy to meet with you too as a reader. My contact information is on that link that I sent. I'll also share in there the link to the WMC's page. And I look forward to seeing you at the center. So thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions too at the end.
Thank you, Professor Bott. Professor Fisher, the platform is all yours.
Thank you. Let me plug my slides here. Can everyone see this okay? So thank you for having me here today. And just to add a couple of my thoughts about the structure of proposals, in addition to Dr. Buck's excellent summary, the way I like to think about proposals is they're a little bit like, they should be shaped like an hourglass, in the sense that there's a kind of broad part at the top where you kind of make the case for your science, very broadly speaking, why the problem that you're working on is interesting. And that's really important before you focus down to the specifics of your particular project, what you're going to be working on in the context of the proposal that you're submitting. And then at the end, usually more towards the very end, want to kind of broaden it out a little bit again, like with this research that you will have accomplished under the auspices of the award that you're going to be getting, what will have been gained, and to kind of broaden it out in that context, and to bring the reader to some kind of vision of where this is going to go in the future. And to elaborate a little bit on that, especially that part of the beginning, especially and on competitive proposals, OUR will be a good building block, and OUR is a little bit competitive, and other awards will be even perhaps more so. That case for making why your science is important is so vital, because if a reader comes away and they're not totally convinced that the science that you're working on, or the humanities project that you might be working on, is really amazing stuff, is really worth funding in a broad context, right? Not even before you get to the specifics of your particular proposal, you've kind of lost your audience already. So it's really important to make that case at the beginning before you kind of get down into the specifics. Specifics are really important. And kind of to be really successful, you have to have all of these elements, and they all have to kind of flow together. And I really thought Dr. Buck's point about audience is super important for the context of the programs that we're talking about. The OUR one is coming up very soon. That's the one that Dr. Karimi was mentioning is coming up this month in September, or just about a week or so away. And there's going to be another round of those awards in the spring. Knowing your audience is really important. And so for the OUR program, you can imagine, you can kind of have some idea who your audience is going to be. They're going to be faculty, maybe from your department, but maybe not, maybe in a department adjacent, maybe even quite distant on rare occasions. So having different people review your proposal, give you feedback, like Dr. Buck was suggesting, is really important. It's quite likely, I think, that kind of average reviewer is going to be someone who's close adjacent to your field, but may not be in your field. So like if you're doing something in, biology, you might get perhaps a biologist, but you might get someone who's just kind of a STEM person. It might be a chemist, might be even a physicist. So having some kind of broad structure in your proposal, not too much jargon, and if try to stay away from jargon, especially for like OUR. If you do need to use it, make sure it's kind of clear, you explain it, but don't expect that this is kind of like the expert level reviewer who would be something like a research group member that you're working with, or if you're working in the humanities or the social sciences, someone who's really kind of, really closely aligned with your research interests. Might be someone quite far apart from that. So making sure it's intelligible to a reviewer who is not necessarily in your discipline. And then I just have some other dates. I wanted to just kind of put these up here as well, so that everyone has kind of got these dates in the back of their the back of their mind. These are different programs for different kinds of fellowships with different kinds of deadlines. And I think I've ordered them almost or nearly so in chronological order. So coming up next month for, let's say, current seniors, the National Science Foundation has a graduate research fellowship program, really great program. We've had many recipients of this. In fact, just in the last year, our campus has had recipients of this award, and the Goldwater Scholarship Program, which is coming up in January. And our campus is also, for the first time ever, we have our first Goldwater Scholarship recipient, Ms. Mackenzie Ferrari. And I think that's another great program. Goldwaters are dedicated towards STEM people in general. Math folks and computer science folks also qualify. And that's something we can do this. I think sometimes we have to toss our hat in to the ring, and that's important. And I think if we do that more often on some of these programs, we'll see a lot more recipients. But we definitely are deserving of this. So I think that's another great program. And then there's a couple of more that I've put up here. I'm kind of a STEM person myself, so it's a little bit STEM centric. There's other fellowships on the OUR website that Dr. Creamy pointed out. The Council of Undergraduate Research Posters on the Hill. I think that one is kind of broadly speaking open to people of many different disciplines. That one will be on December. That program is changing too, so I'm not sure what its current status is. It used to be in person prior to COVID, and I think it's in flux. I'm not sure what it's going to amount to this year. And then there's also the Department of Energy fellowships that will be coming up in January, also for rising current seniors who are thinking about graduate programs. So just some take-home points I wanted to leave you with, just sort of broadly speaking. You miss every shot you don't take. I think that the big take-home lesson I would want to leave you with is really to apply. If you're even thinking about things, just apply. Don't even think about it. The worst that can happen ever is someone says no. That's the worst. And the best thing that can happen is you can get an opportunity that will transform your life. So why not take that shot if you can make it? Even if you can think about taking it. And then the other thing I wanted to sort of add on that one is that sometimes you have to fail to succeed. That's okay. You sometimes have to take many shots before you're successful once. That's the way it goes. And I think that is kind of okay. Once you're take that risk, if you go out and take that risk and submit a proposal once, and then maybe you have to submit it again, but lo and behold, eventually, with the feedback that you'll receive and with your continued effort, you'll be successful. And it's really important that sometimes, even if it's not successful the first time around, to just kind of brush yourself off and go ahead and submit it again. That's okay. That's actually more often than not, folks have had to sometimes submit multiple times before they're successful. And lastly, it's this great opportunity that OUR is providing to jump in and get some research experience. So take advantage of it.
Thank you so much, Professor Fisher. I really appreciate it. So on this note, I'm going to turn the platform to students who are here today. If you have any questions regarding your OUR application or grant writing in general, this is a good opportunity to ask your questions. Yes, Kainaku, please.
I think you're muted.
Yeah,
okay, I just got muted. Hi, thank you so much. My question is, should I, if I plan to conduct research in this upcoming spring semester, should I start applying for grants in this semester, even if I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do?
What's your discipline?
Nursing.
Nursing?
Yeah, but I want to apply for a grant for my Apex project, which I want to do in the spring.
Do you have a mentor, a faculty advisor with whom you feel comfortable working with?
No.
Okay, so Keiko, we are here to help you, but first and foremost, you need a mentor in order to develop a grant proposal. Unfortunately, I cannot be so helpful with nursing because nursing is not my background. So anyone from your college who's willing to take you as their advisee, I think is a good start. So first you go to their office, you make an appointment, you talk to them, and you tell them that you're interested in working with them. If you're a little bit shy and you feel like it's not going to work out for you, then I'm happy also to put you in touch with one of our advisory board members who is from the College of Nursing. And if you want me to do that, please email me privately and I will arrange that for you.
Okay. Thank you
Dr.
so much.
Fisher, do you have anything else to add to this?
Well, yeah, maybe if I could just add maybe a little thought to that. Sometimes it might be a good vehicle, right? Even if you don't have a project right now, like you're thinking, like Apex is down the road, right? So you're thinking about that. So maybe it's a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity now that there's nothing like a deadline to keep you focused, right? So I think take the opportunity to talk to some folks, see what pans out. And if something pans out, that's great, right? Then you can get started on the Apex even this fall, right? So when it comes to maybe this spring, when you're thinking of also working on it, you'll already have the ball rolling. It'll be great.
Thank you.
Dr. Bach, would you like to add a few more words on this?
Yeah. Hi, Kika. Nice to see you here. Kika is actually one of our tutors in training at the WMC right now. We're so happy to have her there. But yeah, I would say, I mean, I would be happy to be your faculty advisor too, if you want to explore the intersections of being a tutor in nursing and quantitatively or qualitatively studying that as well, because that is an area of need. There hasn't been a lot of intersections within that if you want to take a more, multidisciplinary approach. So I think that would be very cool and would be happy to do that. But yeah, I, in working with Apex students before too, I think, planning out regular meetings and working with your advisor, because they will have really great expertise on the subject area, and especially publication venues too, which I think is a great outcome of any grant sponsored research is to try to publish that research as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from members of the audience? No more questions. I also wanted to add to perhaps something else regarding writing grants, that your professors are often very busy. It's not like they're going to come after you and say, hey, I want to work with you. It has to happen the other way around, especially in departments where there's so many majors. I understand that some of the other departments have the luxury of having not too many majors, and therefore professors keep an eye on their students, and they can call them to their office and they can start talking about doing a research project. But if you are coming from a department where there are so many majors, you have to understand that it's very difficult for your professor to come after you and to encourage you to do research. So you have to start it from your end. And I know that it might take a little bit of courage, but that's what you need to do, and your professors will respond to you. We are all here to help you, and we are all here to support our ambitious students. So we never say no to anyone. So don't be shy about approaching your professors. Okay, it seems like we don't have any more questions at this time. I will place the recording of this session on the website of the OUR for those who want to listen to it or take advantage of it at a later point. The links that Professor Bach provided are all available on the OUR website, so please, check them out. Take advantage of the resources that are available to you at this university at UMass Dartmouth. And we wish you the very best. And I'm actually very hopeful this year we have a lot of candidates who are applying for internal grant opportunities as well as external grant opportunities. And we look forward to a very successful year. I'm very, very proud of you. And remember again that we're all here to help you. If I can't personally answer your questions, I will definitely guide you and send you to the right person who can help you out. So please don't be shy, reach out, and good luck with everything that you're doing this semester. Thank you very much, Professor Bach and Professor Fisher, for joining me in this conversation today.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, everybody.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening and
Thank you.
bye.